I've been meaning to get around to this topic for at least a month. I haven't had the time. You often hear people ask the question, why aren't black men in church? Why do black men refuse to go inside of a church house unless it's a funeral or a wedding? Now, when you think of the black Christian church, you think about women because single black women are the majority of the members in these churches. So you understand the black male's sexuality and how he likes and loves women, sex, and chasing women. So if the church is a place where the majority of the people in there are women, why the black man would rather go to a nightclub than go inside of a church house and get a black woman or just any woman, any woman. I remember when I was a teenager and I was inside of a church, and I remember standing up. Everyone in the church was standing up, and there was a older woman who had on tight white jeans. Her ass was on display. And I remember that. And I remember thinking, why is she dressed like that inside of the church? And I'm just looking like it looks really nice, but why do I feel this way in church? So if the black male knows there will be women inside of church with tight pants on, short skirts, short shorts, leggings, short leggings, the ones that are cut like shorts. Oh, brothers love those leggings. Brothers still won't go inside of that church and get him one of those women inside of that church house. And I find that very, very interesting when you think about the, again, reputation, the thirsty reputation that black men hold. Even though we have certain reputations that are true, aren't true, and that stand up brothers are fighting every day. One reputation the black man doesn't have is giving another man his hard earned money. He's not going to go inside of and this is one of the reasons why people say black men aren't cheap. No, black men aren't cheap. It's just that black men aren't going to give our money to a strip club. We're not going to give our money to a preacher who we see every night in his Cadillac, in his Escalade, in his Chrysler 300, picking up and dropping off women at his church. And not just doing a good deed, meaning sleeping with them. Pastors buying prostitutes in the strip club. Then come into church Sunday morning and tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing. Christian churches are a place where hypocrites gather, even the pastor. And then when you ask Christians about their hypocrisy, they'll say, well, the church is a hospital. Sick people come in to get well. And then you will tell the Christian, say, hey, well, how can the sick doctor cure sick patients? Meaning that if the doctor is a pastor and the pastor is sleeping with men, women, prostitutes, and even transgenders. Yes, pastors do sleep with transgenders. He's a freak. So the black male says to himself, okay, there's a lot of ass in that church, but I'm not going inside that church. I'll wait till they come outside. And then you have the black male who just want to get his life right. He says, listen, I have been, let's just say, incarcerated for X amount of years. I'm out and I want to stay clean and I want to be around people who can relate and who can help me out in X, Y, and Z. I want to be around positive people. Even he is having a hard time trusting the Christian pastor. A hard time. And on top of all of that, the black man knows that Christ was in fact a black man. We're not going to sit in front of a black man with a picture of white Jesus behind him on his wall. It makes absolutely no sense to us. It's like, I'm not giving this guy my hard-earned money. I remember sitting in churches and the pastor didn't even preach. They just sang the whole time. I'm like, are you, what? Passing the tray around 4, 5, 6 times. Hey, y'all didn't put enough in here. Y'all, listen, we need 10K. It's 20,000 of y'all in here. We can't get 10K at least. I should get 20,000. If I got $1 from all of you, it'd be 20K. Pass that tray back around to them slaves. But what I also find interesting is when you think of the black people in those neighborhoods and how they are robbed by gang members, not only the pastor, they're robbed by gang members. Have you noticed that preachers never get robbed? It's like they are protected. For some odd reason, Pookie and Ray Ray aren't gunning down preachers. And I'm not saying to gun down preachers. I'm just saying you guys' shot selection is very, very interesting. Who you choose to call out, who you choose to harass, who you choose to whatever, is never the preacher. And I just thought of that right now doing this video. Like, wow, the people that are being robbed, their cars are being broken into. Why aren't the preacher got the flyest car in the neighborhood. Why isn't his cars being broken into? So that goes to show the power the preacher has also. Right? Because if Pookie and Ray Ray breaks into the pastor's car, Pookie and Ray Ray ain't gonna get none from the women in that church. So he's not gonna touch that pastor car. He like, no, can't do that. Can't do that. So you have these stand-up black men. He's saying, hey, I'm not going inside of that church. Not at all. And that goes to show how far the Christian church has failed, because the Christian church at one point in time was a respectable place in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. But when the church started mixing their policies with the liberal policies, that's when everything went downhill. Now, don't get me wrong, the pastor has always been a sellout, even back in slavery. They used that Christian language to indoctrinate their slaves. That is true. And he was a snitch. The pastor was a snitch. If you tried to get away, the majority of the time when you got caught, it was because you was told on. When the slave got away and he got at least about 3 miles and he was still caught, he got away 3 miles. He was 3 miles from the plantation. 3 miles from the plantation. Massa gets on his horse and catches him. Why? Because the pastor would tell him, he went that away, boss. He went that away. It wasn't always the bad wench. It wasn't always the bad one. Yeah, she told. But the preacher told too. So the pastor wants 10% of your income. He said, listen, when you come into my church doors, when you come in those doors, You need to tithe 10% because it says that in the Bible. Again, while you're walking to church, while you are trying to make ends meet, you're still supposed to take 10% and give it to this pastor. Black men said, You mean to tell me I work all of these hours and before I get my check, Uncle Sam get a piece? Okay? I go to the grocery store, taxes get a piece. And now you want a piece? Now you want a piece? Nah, brother. Can't help you there. And so the pastor keeps these women single. He doesn't tell them, hey, the man is the head of the community. You are not supposed to be the head of the community. The pastor allow homosexuals to participate in church. They're in the choir. They're choir directors. They're the one passing the tithing tray around. You have pastors in churches dancing on tithe money. You have Christian churches cooking pork and beans, pork chops, pig feet. You often hear about West Coast preachers, how you have West Coast preachers with jerry curls. Yeah, at one point in time, you knew you was in LA when you went to a Christian Baptist church and the preacher had a jerry curl. And he parked his car on the grass, on the front lawn of the church. He had his Cadillac parked on the front lawn. So black men from all walks of life are like, I'm not going in there. That pastor is a pimp. He is not getting my money. Hell no. In his Bible, the people of that Bible, they describe their skin tone, skin color. The majority of those people in the Bible were black people. Why don't you tell your flock that? Right? And the reason why they don't tell their flock that, their sheeple, is because they want people from other ethnicities to come in so they can tithe also. You can't make no money keeping it at a buck. There's no money in keeping it a buck. The pastor knows this. So he said, you know what? All of y'all are going to be treated the same. No matter how bad society treats black people, you still need to forgive your enemies. And while the black male isn't in the household, I'm going to indoctrinate your women and tell your women to tell their sons to forgive any white person who harms them. Even if that white person says you touched their butt and the camera prove your innocence. That's it. Any black man that is worth a damn will not step inside of a Christian church. What's going on in those Christian churches are nothing short but brainwashing. They brainwash their flock. Like Bishop Eddie Long, he is a prime example. The men and the women knew he was running up in the boys, the men, the girls, and the women in that church, and they still allowed that monster. And people will say, well, kid, he's dead. No, he's still a monster. He's a dead monster. Yeah, he's dead, but what he has done to those people will last throughout their lifetime. Okay? They have to live with that on their brain 24/7. But people still stayed in church and allowed him to preach to them even after he was outed. Even after he was outed. And you mean to tell me you guys didn't pick up the people? When I say you guys, meaning the people that was in his church, the people that was in his church didn't pick up that homosexual energy the way he was dressing, the way he was standing, the way he was wrapping his arms around the waist of other black men. How he would come in Sunday school and grab the same boys out of Sunday school while the teacher was in Sunday school teaching them. Sunday school starts at what? 8:30, 8:45. The class is full. Here come Bishop Eddie Long, walks inside Sunday school and calls out two boys, take them in his office, bend them both over, send them back to Sunday school, and then get on the pulpit and preach. And then pass the tithing tray around. And then if y'all haven't tithed enough, he gonna pass it around again. Y'all gonna come off y'all gonna come off them dollars. Y'all ain't acting stingy this Sunday. I let it slide the last Sunday. It was after the first, so I let it slide last Sunday. I know y'all was short. Y'all had to pay rent. But not this Sunday. I got a baby shower I have to pay for. I knocked up a member in my choir. So baby shower is in 2 weeks. I got to buy the majority of the presents, and I have to pay for the clown. I have to pay for the food, everything. So I'm going to need those tithes. Now, the pastor in many churches are dealing with the choir director, whether it's a female or a homosexual male. Doesn't matter to him. He's a freak. So the black man says, I'm not going in that church. Ain't nothing in that church for me. Nothing. If I need to talk to anyone, I'll subscribe to a brother on YouTube that's talking about something that I'm going through. Someone I can actually learn from. Brothers rather go to YouTube for advice than go inside of the church house. Okay? That's why you have all of these black male stations here on YouTube where black men gather and we talk. It's so many stations like that here on the tube that everyone has their own crew. Everyone has their own crew. That's how big it is. So the pastor is in his office getting head by a choir director, which happens to be a female. Fortunately, this time it was a female. And she's back there with the pastor, and now it's time for the choir to sing. And the song they have to sing is When the Saints Go Marching In. Remember that old Christian carol? When the Saints Go Marching In? She gets done, wipes her mouth off, runs out there, and she's out there when the saints go. Like, that's the type of insanity that goes on in your black Christian church. The black male knows this. He knows a pimp when he sees one. The black man knows a pimp when he sees one. And I'm one of those people who truly believe that the pastor does not want a strong black men presence in his church, because that will make him do right, show and prove. He doesn't want that. So he's not going to go out and campaign for more black men to come inside of the church, because if he taught the Bible how you're supposed to teach the Bible, the church will teach that young man how to be the head of the household and how to show, improve, and produce. But since the pastor's not teaching that, he can't have the man in the church. So he doesn't really care if the man is in the church. He'd rather his church be women and homosexuals. Why? Because he can indoctrinate them. The longer she stays single, the more money he's making. The more money he's making. It's just like Blake Griffin. Everyone is talking about, oh, Blake Griffin that plays for the Detroit Pistons. He just scored 50 points. Oh, Detroit Pistons are balling because of Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is playing at an all-star level. Yeah, he's on child support also. So the harder he plays, the more money he makes, the more money his baby mama's going to get. It doesn't matter. Same thing with church. Keep her single. As long as you keep her single, that's more money he's going to make. That's more money in his pocket. So he's not going to tell her, hey, you got to respect that brother. You got to find a way to respect that brother. no matter his condition or his income. He's the black man. You got to learn how to respect him. That single independent stuff has to go out the window. Can you imagine Pastor Pigfeet telling his flock of sheep, hey, you can't listen to Beyonce anymore? Man, his church will be closed that very next Sunday. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to close this out. Churches nowadays lack education, like real education. The churches are not educating people how people should be educated with finances, with decision making, life experience, all of that stuff. They're not. There's a hurricane or a earthquake or a tornado. Oh, that's God speaking to America. America better get his act together. Oh, you seen that hurricane, y'all? Every day I turn on the news, it ain't nothing good on. Praise the Lord, Pastor. You right, Pastor. When will it end, Jesus Christ? So the educational value in the church is no more. So black men, we find other things to do with our time. I'm out. Peace.